Anyway, here's poor Erica telling you that people sleep in the prone position and they don't wake up dead. They suntan that way and they get massaged.
I've heard a lot about the prone position. Consider just the basic prone position.
All right.
People sleep in the prone position. People suntan in the prone position. People get massages in the prone position. The prone position in and of itself is not an inherently dangerous act. It is not an inherently dangerous act. A prone position during restraint is not an inherently dangerous act. It is routinely trained and used by the Minneapolis Police Department.
Okay. The prone position will kill you if you have 180 pounds worth of Chauvin bearing down on your neck while you're in it. Oh my God, he is groping, man. He is groping, feeling. I don't even know what the hell. Just distraction. Look over there. Don't look at that video. Don't look at what you looked at. Don't believe what your own eyes are telling you. Don't believe your own ears. Don't believe anything that you heard. Don't believe the expert witnesses. Don't believe the eyewitnesses. Don't believe the eyewitness video. No. But the prosecution made a hell of a case. I must say, they're like, you know what? Believe your own eyes.
You have that power. And only you have the power to convict the defendant of these crimes, and in so doing declare that this use of force was unreasonable. It was excessive. It was grossly disproportionate. It is not an excuse for the shocking abuse that you saw with your own eyes, and you can believe your own eyes. This case is exactly what you thought when you saw it first.
Yep.
When you saw that video, it is exactly that.
Yep.
You can believe your eyes.
Yes.
It's exactly what you believed. It's exactly what you saw with your eyes. It's exactly what you knew. It's what you felt in your gut. It's what you now know in your heart. This wasn't policing. This was murder.
Yes.
The defendant is guilty of all 3 counts. All of them.
All of them.
And there's no excuse. Thank you.
Thank you. The prosecution, I thought, did a masterful job. They brought the eyewitnesses. They brought the eyewitness video. They showed the video from every single vantage point that you could see this video. We saw the video from the perspective of the police officer himself. We saw the video from bystanders who apparently distracted, Mr. Chauvin from doing what was reasonable by standing there for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He was doing that because he was distracted. What? This makes no sense, the defense. It makes no sense because it's nonsense. It's nonsense. The jury needs to use common sense and not believe the nonsense, which is what exactly was argued today by the prosecution. And that was a very good thing to tell this jury. You are under absolutely no obligation to believe nonsense. You are to use your common sense. You are to use your own eyes. You are to use your own ears, your own notes that you took when the experts testified about the cause of death. Okay? And obviously what you saw and what you believed when you saw it is what happened. Don't disbelieve what your own gut, what your own eyes, what your own ears are telling you and showing you. That this was excessive use of force. It was grossly disproportionate to the threat. This man was being treated in this manner because of a $20 bill that George Floyd most likely didn't even know wasn't real. He didn't even know that what he was doing was using a bill that was counterfeit or forged or whatever. And he kept saying this, when they said, you're under arrest for forgery, George Floyd was saying, what are you talking about for? What are you talking about? He didn't even know. But even if he did know, and he was trying to buy a pack of cigarettes with a $20 bill that he made himself in a corner somewhere, in a closet somewhere, with a Play-Doh machine, I don't even care. Was this kind of force necessary? when they already knew his license plate, they knew who he was, they knew where he lived? Did they really have to do all this? No. The answer is clearly no. And so now we have to get ready for, I don't know, one jury member going, I like poor Eric. I think he did a masterful job of, distracting me into believing that aliens were occupying Derek Chauvin that day, and they made him kneel on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds while he was handcuffed with his hands behind his back, where, by the way, there was a duty to care for George Floyd. Once you take him into custody, there's a duty to take care of him. That was ignored. Even after he was dead, it was ignored. George Floyd was dead for almost 4 or 5 minutes, and Derek Chauvin didn't get off of him. An ambulance was there, and he didn't get off of him. Nobody administered CPR. Nobody. And the people who were watching knew he was dead. The people who were there, the firefighter, the off-duty firefighter, she knew. The 911 operator, that's where this whole trial started, with Miss Scurry saying she thought her freaking camera froze. There was a street camera on Cup Foods, a city camera, and she was able to see it. And she thought her camera froze because they did not move off of this man. And her gut told her something was wrong, and something had gone horribly wrong. And so she called the supervising sergeant, who finally arrived. And none of these cops, not Tao, not King, not Chauvin, none of them ever told the sergeant that they used this kind of force. And when you use this kind of force, what we learned was you have to tell the sergeant. You have to tell the supervisor that's on duty for your shift that you did this. And they didn't. They didn't until they got to the medical examiner's office. And that was the first time that they told the sergeant on duty that night that, maybe, we did use some excessive force. We used maximum restraint. And we didn't hobble him, though. We didn't hobble him. God, where do these words come from? You know where they come from? Slave patrols. That's where hobbling comes from. You take a runaway slave and you break his leg, you break his ankle so that he can't run. That's hobbling. Most people are familiar with it from, Stephen King's movie Misery. I'm your biggest fan. Oh, Paul. There was a procedure called hobbling. And then she just, knocks his ankle, to a 45-degree angle, right? That's from the slave patrols. That's where these police officers have learned this kind of abuse and this kind of violence. Our policing, the policing in this country, for the most part, it's broken. It's broken. That this police officer felt so secure and so protected by his police union and all the laws that protect him from even civil fines, that he could stare in a camera like that? Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.